Wolfgang Van Halen changed from being a snide con artist to being one of the most respected band leaders of all time in an amazing way. Wolfgang Van Halen made his own history after becoming a musical genius and teaching himself guitar. He didn't rely on his famous father's success in the music business. You've come to the right place if you want to know about Wolfgang Van Halen's hard work and how he changed so much. At his first show, some people who said they liked Wolfgang Van Halen's music called him a baby. But his first song from his solo record got nominated for a Grammy, which changed everything. Wolfgang was good at music from a young age, which is not a surprise since his dad was a famous rock player. But some people might be surprised to learn that his first love was playing the drums. He shared a cute picture of himself as a child on Instagram, standing behind his uncle Alex Van Halen's drum set. His post said that he was sneaking in a little jam session while wearing his drumming Uggs and drumsticks that were almost as big as him. Wolfgang recently told the press that when he was about 8 years old, his dad made him hit a stack of magazines on a table like a snare drum. When he played the drums, his dad said that keeping the beat was the most important thing. Wolfgang had no idea that this first step in his music career would lead to the growth of a devoted fan base. After a while, Wolfgang became more serious about his music and switched from using mags as drums to a real drum kit. He began playing the drums when he was 9 or 10. He said that it was the one skill that his father worked hard to teach him. His dad was thrilled when he found out he had a skill. Wolfgang Van Halen and Valerie Bertinelli kept Wolfgang out of the spotlight as a child because of how they raised him. He told the press that his mom did a great job of making sure he had a normal, uneventful childhood. In an interview with Guitar World, Wolfgang talked about a family trip where they came back to the airport and were greeted by a huge group of photographers. It was the first time he knew that people were acting differently when they saw his parents. The only strange thing that came to mind was how many camera lights he had seen. Wolfgang told Ultimate Classic Rock that he found out the truth about his family's singing history when he was 6 or 7 years old. At the time, Eddie Van Halen was remastering the early records by Wolfgang's band. He also had a clear memory of finding a box with all the albums in it. Inside, he saw his name and a picture of his father. Wolfgang got one of his first unforgettable looks into the music business when he asked his dad what it was. It was part of his job, his dad said in a relaxed tone. His father loved playing the guitar, and as Wolfgang got bigger and his memory got better, he became interested in learning how to play too. He was surprised, too, that his dad hadn't really taught him how to play like you were. Wolfgang said that his dad wasn't the best teacher in an interview with Louder Sound. Eddie would always pretend to be someone else when Wolfgang asked him to show him a certain method. Eddie would then tell Wolfgang to copy his every move. When Wolfgang heard this, he would laugh and respond with a sarcastic remark. Because he knew how hard it was to play like his dad. In a fun way, he told them he didn't like it because he thought their skills would never be as good as Eddie's. What do you think? Did he really mean it? Putting everything else aside, Wolfgang learned how to play the guitar by himself. Both of them learned to play the guitar on their own, so he said he wanted to be like his dad and teach himself. He told Spin how important it was for him to improve his own sound and skills. He thought this approach was smart because otherwise they would just play a bad version of Van Halen's music. Wolfgang made a lot of progress on the guitar, and in 2006 his father asked him to fill in for Michael Anthony on bass for Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen said that his son Wolfgang's promotion to full band member at the young age of 15 was based only on his ability, even though this may have seemed unfair to people who weren't involved with the family. Wolfgang gladly joined when his dad asked him to, but he stressed that he wouldn't play bass solos. Some people didn't believe Wolfgang was good at first, but he showed them they were wrong on the band's comeback tour, with David Lee Roth in 2007 and 2008. Some fans of Van Halen, on the other hand, thought he was a worthy competitor. It was a tough situation, and Wolfgang told Louder Sound that it had a big effect on him. After that, things got a lot better. Wolfgang had been in Van Halen for a long time and was a constant on stage. He also said in 2013 that he was going to join another hard rock band called Tremonti on tour. When asked by Billboard how much work he was putting into Tremonti, he said, "The same amount as he had into Van Halen." He did say that Tremonti was his top concern, but when Van Halen wasn't performing, he always gave Tremonti his full attention. Wolfgang told the Rock Street Journal that his longtime friendship with Creed guitarist Mark Tremonti was the natural way for them to meet and become friends. While he was in Tremonti's home state of New Jersey, they were in desperate need of a bass player for a tour that was coming up. The next day, they were going on tour together, and he remembered staying at their apartment late at night to study the whole set. The news came out in 2001 that Eddie Van Halen was getting treatment for tongue cancer. At some point later in 2002, he announced that he had beaten his illness and was now fully cancer-free. He died in 2020 when he was 65 years old from problems caused by cancer coming back. Waltz was very sad when Eddie died because he had a close relationship with his father. He told Carson Daly how hard it was, adding that some days were better than others and that the pain felt like it would never go away fully. But he was getting through it. Wolfgang said that he was sad but trying to be positive when asked about his health. Eddie Van Halen's death was a terrible blow for Wolfgang and the music business as a whole. The man was a great musician, but he was also a loving father and best friend to the boy. He said that Wolfgang and his mom Valerie Bertinelli were under a lot of stress because of a new TV show. They had already lost Eddie Van Halen a few years before. Eddie was a famous guitarist for Van Halen, and this show was meant to tell the story of his life and death. The show, Autopsy, The Last Hours of, which is part of a larger series, tries to explain how great people died. According to Reels' website, the show will use important medical information from the corpses to show how these giants died. During the Eddie Van Halen episode, Dr. Michael Hunter, a forensic pathologist, was meant to give some information that would help him figure out why Eddie died so soon. He would look into every part of his life to get a better idea of what happened before Eddie died. According to the show description, Dr. Hunter would look at his life in great detail. Van Halen made it clear on Twitter that he strongly disagreed with Reels and did not hold back. He called the show pathetic and cruel because it was an awful attempt to cash in on the drama of a cancer patient dying. It was clear that the way things were being handled was making him angry. As if to make her son feel better, Bertinelli tweeted that she agreed with him that the whole thing was bad. Reels spoke out in favor of both the show and the series. They say that Autopsy, The Last Hours Over studiously follows the lives of several local teenagers living in a responsible way, shedding light on the events that led to their untimely deaths. It was seen by a lot of people. The network said that many of those viewers were either doctors who liked how true it was, or fans who felt like it gave them closure or taught them something new about health. If you leave it alone, you might not notice it, not everything. Bertinelli wrote about Eddie as a partner in her book, Enough Already, Learning to Love the Way I Am Today, even though they got divorced in 2007. She told the press that she believes people meet certain spirits to help them get through hard times. He said that having Wolfgang Van Halen as a son was a big part of their journey. She said that other people had a hard time understanding how she felt because it was so private. She had never felt love like that before. Bertinelli thought about their relationship and realized that, despite the problems they faced, there were many more good times than bad. It was clear to her that Eddie was different from any other love she had ever felt. Bertinelli said that her friendship with Ed was one of a kind and that she had never had a relationship like it with anyone else. On the other hand, Wolfgang told the media that his father's advice to get over his grief and enjoy life to the best has stuck with him for a long time. He talked about how much his father inspires him and how angry his father would be if he gave up and shut himself off, which is something he often thinks about doing. Additionally, Wolfgang said that his dad is the one who keeps him going. When Wolfgang wasn't on the road with Van Halen or Tremonti, he was writing songs for his debut album, Mammoth, WVH, which came out in 2021. After years of practice, Wolfgang finally did what no one thought was possible. He played every instrument on the album and recorded each part by hand. He told the press that he was in charge of everything about the production, from writing to playing. This was both a big responsibility and an exciting chance to be creative. Before they started recording, Wolfgang didn't have a clear idea of how the album would turn out in the end. Dave Grohl played every instrument on the Foo Fighters' first record, which inspired him, but he didn't think he could repeat Grohl's success. After the record came out a year ago, Wolfgang talked about how it changed his life on social media. He said it was the end of a long time of hard work, during which he had felt many things, such as loss, fear, self-doubt, and mistakes. He said it was the beginning of a new part of his life. He wasn't sure if he was ready for it, but he decided to welcome it anyway. When his first record came out, it made him even more determined to take his music on the road for live shows. Mammoth, WBH. Sure, the name Mammoth comes from the fact that his dad was in a band before he started Van Halen. In an interview with NPR, Wolfgang said that he liked that name ever since his dad told him the story. He promised himself that he would have a record and band named after it as soon as he was old enough. Just as he had planned, his musical trip went on after that. Wolfgang went into uncharted musical ground as the lead singer of his own rock band. During an interview for Walking the Floor with Chris Shiflett, he said that he didn't want to sound like David Lee Roth or any of his other bandmates. He said that in some ways he was just being himself. He cared more about being real than about whether it would be boring. Wolfgang's first record got him his first Grammy nomination, and his hit song Distance won the award for Best Rock Song. To mark the occasion, Wolfgang posted a picture on Instagram of himself, his mom, Valerie Bertinelli, and his ex-girlfriend, Andrea Alsop. In his post, he made it clear that it was okay for them to have gone to the nomination event, but not been chosen. It was a huge honor for him to be nominated for his first solo song, especially in the same category as artists he had always looked up to. He admitted that the nomination's gravity still hadn't hit him fully. He said he thought he was just following in the path of his father Eddie Van Halen. Since he didn't win a Grammy the first time he was nominated, his mother was very proud of her son and thrilled by the news. Being seen as an equal in the field of music was a big deal for Wolfgang. He talked more about how he felt in an interview with Noise 11.com. It was a win for him to be nominated for a Grammy with bands he has always liked, like the Beatles, Weezer, and Foo Fighters. During the same conversation, he talked about the event and how important it was to him. In his words, he made it clear that he saw the nod as more than just an acknowledgement of his work and skills. Wolfgang said that the event was even more memorable because they were in the same league as those famous bands. Following an online meeting, Wolfgang and Alsop, a photographer, went on their first date on October 15, 2015. After 8 years together, they got married in their Los Angeles home on the same date. People magazine said that around 90 people came to the party. Alsop said that their main goal was to spend time with their loved ones. They wanted the wedding to be a happy time for everyone who was important to them, not just them and their new husband. Wolfgang asked that Van Halen's instrumental song 316 play as they walked down the aisle to honor his father. It meant even more to the guitarist that he wrote this song for his son. The happy couple's wedding was not only a once-in-a-lifetime event, but it was also a meaningful event that let their loved ones party with them. There is more. Yes. Bertinelli was thrilled to hear that her son had found a life partner. She told the press that they understand each other very well. They both enjoy the same kinds of humor and activities, and they are good at giving each other room. Because they got along so well, she felt at ease, which made her happy for them. Wolfgang Van Halen was already getting a lot of attention from his own album, a successful concert tour, and even a Grammy nomination when he was asked to play on the music for the big movie Barbie last year. He played guitar magic on Ryan Gosling's hit song I'm Just Ken, which had Slash of Guns N' Roses on it. He told the Morning Call that being a part of Gosling's Oscars act was an amazing experience, even though he felt a little out of place. He understood after the fact that the Barbie movie would be popular with viewers, but he had no idea how popular it would become. He really loved being a part of the project even when he was little, and he talked about how great it was. Wolfgang's second record, Mammoth 2, came out in August of last year. All the instruments on the record were played by him. People who aren't even fans of Wolfgang have said that he is a nepotism baby, just like they did with Barbie. David Lee Roth talked about how much he didn't like Wolfgang on the Atlanta radio show The Morning X. In a January 2018 YouTube video, the station's hosts had said that Roth's words made no sense to them. They complained and said they didn't understand what he meant. When they looked like they didn't understand, Roth used the chance to say what he thought about the matter. He asked for more information by saying that he thought what he said had been taken in the wrong way. The host paid close attention as he continued to explain his point of view in an effort to make his original message and their understanding of it clear. It sounds like you want to know what that video was about. Now, Roth made fun of Van Halen and asked if the music business is fair. A man pretending to be Wolfgang Van Halen said that he wanted everyone to know that his success in the part was due to his skills. In the film, he said that his father would still be working here even if he wasn't a famous rock icon. He was successful because of his natural skills, and he wanted everyone to know it. The fake then said that he wanted people to recognize his skill and not think he was lucky because of his father. He got mad about this. It was important to him to show that he deserved the part based on his skills. Van Halen told them how thankful he was that they were kind to him. Besides saying that he wrote the hit song Eruption, which features Eddie Van Halen's signature guitar solo, he warned that while it's nice to be known, people should be careful about believing everything they read. It looks like Wolfgang is now the next person to be hurt in the ongoing story about Van Halen, which he feels he was born into. His dad isn't there to be the center of attention anymore. He was getting tense about everything. He made it clear that Wolfgang's father could never be a part of a reunion. He has made it clear how he feels about playing the song without his dad. Roth announced his retirement in a 2021 article for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, in which he talked about his career. Wolfgang Van Halen is a nepotism baby who made a name for himself in show business, just like Jennifer Aniston and Ben Stiller. Wolfgang Van Halen is happy with what he has done with his life and the history he has made for himself. He was also happy that people were starting to see how talented he was and stop comparing him to his father, Eddie Van Halen.